much, I mean, since the interview, has there been much of, people reaching out to Professor Seralini and saying, we love what you're doing, please do some more?
The main problem is that following his study, even people who are anti-GMO believed all of the anti-study PR that was out there. So he's kind of been sidelined more than he deserves, because he did make some mistakes in his study. Everyone can see that. But 99% of the actual study followed Monsanto protocols. So
that's what I was going to say.
The logic behind sidelining him is quite incredible. But even in Britain and in France, people have really started to sideline his work because they don't want to be included in his kind of sphere of friends. So.
Yeah, but that's the whole problem, is this fear thing. Everybody's afraid. I was at an ag show here in Spokane, and I have some sales rep telling me something, but he's afraid. He's whispering it to me. He's afraid of Monsanto. I have a farmer talking to me, and he's afraid. He doesn't want me to use his name because he's afraid of Monsanto. I have farmers who've been sued. I've talked to their wives, and they tell me how horrific it is, and the whole experience, their whole ordeal. They tell me that, it's not the Monsanto of so-and-so's brother who works there and so-and-so's father and how nice they are. This is the other side. This is the side of the industry that come in suits. And she describes it as the mafia coming after her. And it was the most horrible experience in her life. But I can't share her name. So, but it's all in fear. Like, all these people live in fear of being ousted, fear of being pushed to the side.
Well, the fear in the scientific community is even greater because all of their funding comes from universities, and as soon as universities cut their funding, they can't work anymore. Simply.
Well, the universities get money from Monsanto, don't they? I mean, that's what I read.
Some of them get directly from Monsanto or indirectly through government funding. So, I mean, yes, in a way you could say most universities get funding directly or indirectly from Monsanto. So
it's just a sad situation. It's like, I mean, I would donate to have him. I mean, I have never been big on animal studies before in my life until I found out that my children were part of a study, our whole family. And I noticed how we felt when we got off genetically modified food. And so and then everybody was acting like, it's not that big a deal. It's no big thing. Go ahead and eat your whatever from the big, I don't want to name any names, but there's so many. I called company after company after company when I got into my pantry and started looking for anything with cornstarch, anything like that. So, when I found out that there was this study, I was like, finally, somebody doing something like this. It should have been done a long time ago.
Well, I think the precedent wasn't that set with Arpide Pusztai. I mean, the precedent was sort of set there. I mean,
that's absolutely true, and that's an even sadder story actually, because he was thrown out by his own university that he'd been working for 30 years, and he was thrown out 2 days after the study was released. So it's quite incredible pressure. But actually, maybe the science is not the most important thing. Maybe it's people pressure that will eventually pay more than anything else. At least I hope that happens.
It's women. It's moms, and I think Zen has a comment on that.
Yeah, I want to say that there's been all kinds of scientists barraging my website for the 2012 corn report, and what I come back to them with is really. The studies are very important and they're crucial, but in the end, we see our children right in front of us. We see them getting better when we go off GMOs. We don't even need any other studies, frankly. Yeah. We see this happening right in front of us. I feel better when I get off GMOs. I mean, and if by accidentally, for some chance, we eat out at a restaurant and we eat, canola oil or whatever, I feel like garbage for 2 days.
Yeah.
This is fact for us.
Yeah. What do you think, Rachel?
Yes, I love hearing from Rachel.
Well, I went on the trail up and down California for last summer, And your stories about your families and your children people come up to me by the hundreds. I host events in Arizona. We have hundreds of people that come to our events all the time. We talk about GMOs, and their stories are the most telling. We have major healing happening when people remove the GMOs out of their diet. And you're right. You know what? I don't know why science has replaced common sense. I don't need to check with my doctor to know how I feel when I eat GMOs and how I feel when I don't eat GMOs. And I think that's the same that mothers need to start taking responsibility and watching and looking at their kids. And they do. And when they tell me what's going on by the hundreds all across California and Arizona and the Southwest and everywhere I go, they're telling me their kids are getting better, and they're starting to drop some of those diseases that you are not supposed to be cured from. You know, arthritis, colitis, Crohn's disease, celiacs, food allergies, all kinds, seasonal allergies, tummy troubles that have lasted for years, diabetes, autism. Autism starts to reverse when you start pulling the GMO food out of your diet.
Yeah.
I don't need a scientist to tell me 40 years from now they were wrong about GMOs. I'm gonna decide today for me, for my life. I mean, I spent 10 years sick. I went from doctor to doctor, specialist to specialist, only to finally figure out it was food allergies, and food allergies caused by GMOs. So my intelligence didn't come from these myriad of doctors that didn't know what they were doing. I mean, I was a pincushion for years, and I don't expect that everyone should have to do this. This should be on television shows everywhere. It should be in journals, and it doesn't necessarily need to be scientists telling people. I'm fine as a mother, feeling confident in my power that I know what I'm talking about within my own body and watching what's going on in my children and with other people's children. I mean, they bring me their stories, and it's, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of stories. I love that Henry, that you've got GM Evidence coming out as a site, because that's a site whose time has come. All these people need a platform to tell their stories. Once the stories start getting out, oh my goodness. I mean, it's outrageous, some of the things I've seen. And I've seen it in front of my face. I'll run into a mom with a sick kid. They'll come back months later. I just want you to know my child is doing so much better. Thank you for bringing this to our awareness. That's happened to me so many times, it's countless. If we had a place for those people to tell their stories, it would just sing for the movement.